guys, today I'm going to show you how to create a perfect hairline. To tell you the truth, I generally don't have any issues with my hairline the way it is in reality, but if you watched my video about nose contouring, I was talking to you about how we prefer ourselves in the mirror, what we see in the mirror, to what we see in photos. So while this area usually looks fine in reality, sometimes in photos it looks like I have some hair missing. Maybe I do have some hair missing. I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't be able to tell, but when I look at myself in the mirror, it looks perfectly fine to me, while when I wear a tight bun or a sleek ponytail and I look at myself in this area, it looks like something's obviously missing there. Luckily, there's a very easy solution to this problem. And fortunately, it doesn't involve any waxing, epilation or threading. Which is of course something that you could also do if that's what you like to. But today I'd like to suggest you an alternative technique that will actually make your hair appear thicker. And who doesn't want their hair to appear thicker? Sorry girls with thick hair, I know you'll be commenting down below like, I want your thin hair, can we swap hair? And the answer is yes, of course, but how? Anyway, the technique that I'm going to show you in a moment relies on the power of makeup. It's just as easy as that. You're going to need some eyeshadows that correspond to the tonality of your own hair. For myself, I'll be using those two medium beige shades. Same shades I use for my nose contouring and for my eyebrows, so you see how multifunctional they are. Next, I'm going to mix them with my brush and apply them anywhere I wish. Normally, the only area that bothers me is this one, so that's where I want to apply my shadows. And that's what my natural hairline looks like, and now I'm going to make it appear more uniform using a beige shade. This beige is really neutral, neither cool-toned or warm-toned. Funny enough, while I'm applying the shadows, I don't see much difference during the process. So here it's very important to use the technique in moderation and not overdo it, because then our hair might start looking like a wig, and that's definitely not the effect that we're going for. The best approach would be to work on one side of the face at a time and to keep on comparing it to the other side. That's what it looks like after I corrected my hairline on the left side, and the right side is what I still have to work on. Can you see the difference? And that's what it looks like once it's done. I find this result really natural looking. So normally I would correct only this area, while today, for the sake of the experiment and to show you the power of this technique, I have also enhanced my hairline and brought it slightly lower down. As a result, my forehead appears more narrow and slightly shorter. I'm not quite sure if it suits me or not, but what I noticed is that my hair immediately appears so much thicker and voluminous. Like this hair here, usually it lies totally flat, and it still lies totally flat. I didn't tease it, I didn't pull it out to make it appear any thicker. By simply making my hairline appear lower than what it really is, I achieved a much more voluminous look in my hair. And that's something I really like. And there's actually one important thing you should never forget about. So when you're correcting a specific area, you don't apply your shadows only on that specific area, but also around it. So for example, if you're working on your hairline, you don't simply press the shadows along the hairline, but you also want to go in depth. So you create multiple parallel partings and apply your shadows right into those partings. I usually go probably that far into my scalp, because to tell you the truth, the first time I tried this technique, I made a mistake, so I applied my shadows only all along the hairline, and once again, in the mirror it looked perfect. I couldn't see any imperfections whatsoever, but then I had some pictures taken, and they were the weirdest thing in the world. It looked like I had some strange dark line going along my hairline. So yeah, don't do that. Here you can see that I create multiple parallel partings and apply my shadows onto them one by one. It would be even easier to do when your hair is still down, before attaching it into different hairstyles. But this way it also works fine. I think people might have different definitions to what a perfect hairline looks like. For example, that of Kim K is super clean. Mine isn't really that way. You can still see some areas that stick out a little bit. And to tell you the truth, that's how I like it. So to me, being able to correct this area that might appear kind of bald in photos is more than enough. It's worth to mention that you could also use this technique while wearing your hair down. For example, if you're not really happy with your parting and you find that your scalp is showing through a bit too much, so you can use this technique to correct this issue. Just remember to apply the shadows not only onto the parting but also onto the nearby area. But apart from that, this technique is super easy to use. I find it super natural looking. It's not something I can say about nose contouring. I still think that nose contouring is suitable only for photos and videos. Well, with this technique, I find the result really natural looking. As long as you pick the right shades of your shadows. In case of blondes and dark blondes, it should be something like this, a rather neutral beige shade. Well, in case of girls with darker hair, you should still respect the tonality of your hair, but it's better to pick a shade that is lighter than your hair, because otherwise the result might be too dramatic. You know, you might look like you have a wig or something. I think it's the very same principle that applies to the eyebrows. Even if you want them to appear really dark, it's still better and safer to stay away from black shadows. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments underneath. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I see you in my next video. Mwah!